We welcome you in on this Monday edition of the program. A brisk Monday, December 16th, 2024. We appreciate you joining us here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Woke up this morning, the car internal thermometer, 33 degrees.
Really?
It was cold this morning. I've now updated it to brisk.
Okay.
Because when I checked my watch, it said 56 degrees. You can't call that cold.
No, that's a lot better.
I think below 40 is when you can start using the term cold.
That's fair.
And I also use this gauge. When I drop my daughter off in the morning, if it is over 40 degrees, they have a little outdoor recess before she goes to school.
Yep.
If it is below 40, they go directly inside. So if they go directly inside, cold. I am willing to say that is now officially cold. So it was cold this morning. It is now brisk. It definitely feels like winter. It feels like the holidays.
Yeah.
It feels like that time. Saturday, spent my day shopping.
Really?
Boy, was that a mistake.
Yeah.
Because everybody else had the same idea this weekend.
Did you get everything done, though?
Define everything.
Like, do you have all your presents bought?
No,
Okay.
I do not.
Good luck.
I have a good amount of the ones that I needed to get in person accomplished
Okay.
done on Saturday. The rest,
Delivery.
I mean, Amazon, baby. Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos is going to have my back. That's what I was doing yesterday while I was sitting down, watching some football, perusing Amazon, making sure that I've got everything ready to go for the holidays. Because Saturday, listen, we've got ASU coming up here in a couple of weeks in
Yes.
the college football playoff quarterfinal matchup. But the Bowls are starting to start, but there's not a ton of stuff going on Saturday. So it was nice to be like, you know what? I've got the day. Let's go out. Let's shop. Problem was, everybody else had the same idea.
Yeah.
And so it was me and thousands of my closest friends shopping over the weekend at various different establishments. But that was my weekend. Hopefully you had a fantastic weekend, and you probably did because, well, it's the topic of our daily special today.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
About as perfect of a Sunday as you could get for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, comparatively.
You defeat the New England Patriots. You get back to 500. You snap your 3-game losing streak since the bye. So you're now 7-7. You get your first win post-bye. And then on Sunday night, you watch the Seahawks get embarrassed by the Green Bay Packers, putting you just one game back of the first place spot in the NFC West. Now, the Rams currently have the tiebreaker. You're going to play the Rams here in 2 weeks. So, again, about as best of a Sunday as you could get for the Arizona Cardinals. You win, Seahawks lose. It is one game separating you from the division. Your playoff hopes are still alive. If they lost yesterday and we were talking about a 6-8 football team, we would have come in here, we would have hit that sounder, and it would have been the Cardinal season is over. They are at least still mathematically alive. We talked all last week, 8.5% chance. We talked all the pathways. They started that pathway yesterday. They defeated the New England Patriots, and they got the loss to the Seahawks that they needed to at least close the gap a little bit. Now, here is the catch-22 of all of this. They won. They kept their playoff hopes alive. They snapped their 3-game losing streak. That's all good. I don't know how impressive yesterday's performance was. You had to have some of the breaks go your way, right? You had a big man touchdown. Greg Dortch fumbles the ball into the end zone. Jonah Williams is there to hop on it before he touches out of bounds. And then Kyler throws a terrible interception, but it gets called back because of a roughing the passer penalty. Listen, I'd rather be lucky than good. Yesterday, the Cardinals were both lucky and somewhat good. But it was not an impressive performance when you consider the opponent. When you consider what they did. Kyler's stat line, very pedestrian. Overall, it was the similar formula that we've seen from this team on a regular basis. We're going to run the football. We're just not going to turn the ball over, and we're going to be there in the end. Not as impressive as what the Bills did, scoring the amount of points they did on the Lions. You go across the National Football League, you can pick what the Eagles did to the Steelers. That's impressive. And we'll get to that when we do the NFL Rewind here at the bottom of the hour. Those performances were impressive. This performance got the job done, check. Bigger picture, I don't know if this changes how I feel about this team the rest of the way. I don't think yesterday changes how we have felt the last 3 weeks coming in here talking about this team, watching their season slip away. I don't know if yesterday turned the corner on how we feel. But they had the breaks go their way, and at the end of the day, they got a victory. And where you can point to where this game was won for the Arizona Cardinals, it was coming out of the second half because they opened up the half with a field goal to take a 16-3 lead, but they went into halftime 13-3. And I got to be honest, it felt like the Cardinals were playing with their food a little bit. Playing a bad opponent, didn't lean on them. It was only 10. There was a bunch of time during the first half where I felt like, man, if the Patriots score a touchdown here, the Cardinals are going to let them back into this game. They're going to let them build the momentum. And now this is going to be a slugfest for 4 quarters when if you just leaned on them a little bit more, you would end this game quickly and be able to kind of ease off the gas a little bit. And they just didn't necessarily do that. But they opened up the second half with a field goal. They take a 16-3 lead. They should have been up more than 13-3 at the half. And again, it felt like we were going to watch this game get close when it shouldn't have been close. But then this defense, just like they have done most of this season, came up big. We've had a lot of questions about them the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of questions about them since the meltdown in Minneapolis, since the disaster performance against Seattle. But they came up huge yesterday. The first drive that the Patriots had coming out of the second half after the Cardinals field goal to take a 16-3 lead, the Patriots move all the way down the field, and they make what I thought was the right decision at the time to go for it on 4th and goal, right? And they don't get it. A huge stop for the Cardinals. And that stop, that was the momentum play that I thought was lacking in the first half for this team. And then they followed that up with an interception. That led to a touchdown. And before you could blink, it was 23-3. That was the game right there to start the second half. So you played with your food a little bit in the first half, and then you let the Patriots kind of crawl back into it late. But the defense that has stood tall for the majority of this season, which has been the backbone of the 4-game winning streak, which was the backbone of this team getting into playoff contention, getting into the race for the NFC West, they stood on their head. They came through when the team needed it. And you know what? Yesterday, we're calling it unimpressive. It didn't really wow us. I don't think it changes how we feel big picture, but they did all the little things right. We said on Friday, hey, Kyler, don't turn the ball over. Now, we got a gift because he threw a bad interception that got taken off the board because of a turnover. Again, rather be lucky than good. So no turnovers. Didn't give the Patriots additional drives, additional opportunities to try to claw back into this game. No sacks in the game. Only 4 penalties. And they were 10 of 15 on third down. That's your recipe. That's the way the Arizona Cardinals want to play football. They're going to run the ball. They're not going to wow you with what they do, but they're going to play smart football. They're not going to commit penalties. They're not going to turn the ball over. They're going to be efficient, and they're going to look up at the end of the day at the scoreboard, and they are going to be victors. Now, where does that leave them with the rest of the NFC? I don't think this team currently constructed can win a playoff game against Minnesota. I don't think they can win a playoff game against Philly, against Detroit, against Green Bay, because I don't think they can keep up scoring-wise. I just haven't seen it. I know they're better offensively. Saw a stat this morning that their efficiency on offense went from being bottom third of the league to top 15. I think they were 11th in offensive efficiency this year. They have gotten better. I'm not taking that away from them. But you ask yourself this question. If they go into the playoffs and they draw the Eagles, they draw the Bucks, they draw the Packers, just name a team that they might face in the playoffs at some point, either in the first round, in the wild card round, or if they win in the divisional round, ask yourself, can they hang with the Detroit Lions, who in a loss yesterday, Jared Goff threw 5 touchdowns in a loss, they scored 42. Can you see the Arizona Cardinals doing that? And so that's where yesterday, while yes, it feels good, while yes, it's much better than the alternative is me starting the week ranting, raving, screaming like a lunatic about the Cardinals being 0-4 since the bye week and opening up Pandora's box for a whole host of questions. I'm very happy that we are not having that conversation today. I'm very happy that relatively it was an easygoing performance yesterday. I think the Cardinals played with their food a little bit in the first half, and I don't think they changed the narrative about where they're at. They at least stopped the narrative for a second. They haven't reversed the narrative. So yesterday, a really important stopping point. They now need to stack some performances together here down the stretch with 3 games remaining for us to not look at this as a disaster and not look at this ending of the season as a disappointment. And with the Seahawks losing last night, they are just 1 game back of first place. You can look at that in 2 different ways. You can take the glass half full approach, and maybe that's how we'll start the show here today, and say, after all this, the 2-4 start, the 3 straight losses coming out of the bye, and countless times being told this team is dead, this team isn't making the playoffs, this team isn't very good, this team is middle of the road. After all of the things that we have said, after every major disappointment this team has had, they are just 1 game out, and they have a host of opportunities the rest of the way. They have a favorable matchup in their back pocket. They have the schedule advantage when you compare their schedule to Seattle's, when you compare their schedule to the Rams. They've already beaten the Rams 1 time this season, so beating them again would give them the tiebreaker against them in their back pocket. They play the Panthers this week, who seemingly hit that wall that we thought was coming a couple of weeks ago. They finally hit it against the Cowboys. Now, you got to go out there and play the game. You got to take the field. You got to beat Carolina. You certainly would expect the Cardinals to do so. It's what they've been doing all year. That's the glass half full approach. Now, you can look at the glass half empty and say, yeah, they're 7-7. Yeah, they're one game back of first place and a home playoff game. Just imagine where they would have been if they didn't blow the 2 games to Seattle. If they didn't blow the game in the fourth quarter to Minnesota. What type of team would we be talking about? We would be talking about a team that might already be at double-digit wins. We might already be talking about a team that's run away with this division to where they don't have this thin margin of error. You can look at it either way you want to look at it. For me, as somebody who has been in this market for over a decade, for somebody who has watched the good, bad, and ugly when it comes to this team, I'm going to take the glass half full approach. This football team is playing meaningful football in December. They have to finish the job over the next 3 weeks, and even that might not be enough. But them finishing the job and putting the pressure on these other teams would at least allow us to think that this season was a success. This continuing to be a dumpster fire post-bye would have not been a pretty sight. It would have opened up a lot of questions about the future of this organization. So I wasn't all that impressed yesterday. It's the New England Patriots. You should have beaten them. And this wasn't as impressive as I watched this team play against the Jets, as I watched this team play against the Bears. It was not that level. But they played a bad opponent. They played that bad opponent at home, and they came through when they needed to come through, and they earned a victory to snap their 3-game losing streak. They got to 500, and they are right back in the thick of this NFC West race for the playoffs. That is all that you can ask for. Now you shift focus to Carolina this upcoming Sunday.